Alright, welcome to episode 30 of the Devlogs. Managed to scrounge out some sort of motivation. But anyways, quickly, as a quick recap as to what I did last time. So last time I worked on the power-up hittable. The visuals for that. So I got this hittable visuals script, which I'm guessing I'm going to have to change to power-up hittable visuals or something, because this is specific to the power-up visuals. But anyways, I've got this going on. Don't know how to explain it. It's been a couple of days since I've done it. On ready, changing the material blend mode to add. We've got the segments to 64 and we're drawing the arc. And we've basically got three layers going on. And then we've got a placeholder icon in the middle to showcase that, to have like a little icon to let the player know, to let the players know that it is a power up and what the power up's gonna do. In case like in the future I'm gonna add like much more power ups, many more power ups. So if I just do this, I'm gonna quickly show it to you. So we'll see what I got. I've decided to make it like green. So if I just play here, there we go. So like I actually kind of like it. We've got this outer ring here, this outer green ring. Then we got this inner ring, and within that inner ring, there's two layers, an outer green one, if you can see that, and then an inner just core white. And that core white is what's making it glow ever so slightly. And then the green kind of just adds to it, and it kind of gives this effect of like almost like a wormhole or like a black hole or something. And then the icon, I've just made it into a plus icon. I'm not sure how I'm going to do icons, whether I'm going to make it vector based or sprite based. Since everything else is vector based, if it's a sprite, it might look out of place. But I'll worry about that later once I have more power ups and hazards and whatnot. But yeah, like I like how it looks in the game, to be honest. It looks like it really belongs. And that at a glance you can tell, like, because it's like a neon sort of green, or maybe not neon, but you can tell it's like glowing, that you know that it's some sort of power up. So that's pretty good. So in terms of next steps, let's see if this works. Yeah, that works good. In terms of next steps, so that's done now. The power up is done. Now I want to do hazard and I want to do progress as well. So progress, I'm gonna make more into like a pentagon or a diamond type of shape, and it's gonna be more amber or gold in terms of color. And I think it will have its own icon as well. But worry, it won't be anything too complex for now. And then the same thing for hazard. It's gonna be a more like rounded inner, but spiky and sharp corners to make it to indicate that you don't really want to hit this. And it will be red in color, so that green, you know that you want to grab that. Red, you know you want to avoid that. And then gold or amber as like what you're gonna get points out of this, and this is the main thing you should be hitting anyways. So yeah, I'm gonna try do. I don't know if I'm gonna do one of them, both of them, but I'll try get something done, and then I'll be able to explain that. Also, since this is the 30th devlog, I'm thinking about editing a video of like just the time lapse of all the 30 devlogs, the development. I think it will look pretty cool, and if I see that, I'm thinking I might get like extra bit of motivation. Like, oh, I've done so much work on this, so I should carry on. Actually, that's something I'm thinking about. Whether I do that or not, we'll see. But anyways, first I need to do the progress and the hazards. So let me get on that now. All right, so after a couple of days, as you probably can tell, because this devlog's taken for ages, that's actually done. So I've got two. Before, what I managed to do was the oh, where is it? Why do I? Oh, okay, sorry, not that. Before, what we did was the visuals for the power up, right? So we had that. That was fine. So what I ended up doing since last time is I done the progress visuals and the hazard visuals, obviously to state one more time that just the first pass, so it's still going to be a little bit wonky, not the final design, but to have something down for the visuals, and then maybe I can develop it further with much more detail and maybe a slight different change. Anyways, so for the progress visuals, what I decided to have was a hexagon that is amber color or some type of gold color. And the way I've done it, so we've got a radius. So it's the way I've done it. So in terms of progress hittables, as we know, the collision shape that I chose was a circle. So I thought, you know what, for the power up, sorry, for the power up that I did before, that was a circle, the collision shape. So for progress and hazard, I decided to make the collision shape a circle as well, just to make it consistent and make sure that the bounce is sort of, if it was a square, the ball would be able to, if it was like a square, then the ball can come up here and then bounce off the top, and then it's not as fun or exciting. And it doesn't really pair well with like the sort of visuals that I'm trying to have on the outside. Right, so for a circle, I thought that would be pretty good for a hexagon. Let me draw that out. So essentially, this is the collision shape, and then we'll have like a hexagon here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'd have a hexagon as the visual, and then inside the actual collision with the ball is going to be a circle, so that I don't have to make like a separate polygonal collision shape. My mind's a bit fried right now, sorry. So that's how I've done it for the progress. We've set the colors. So we've got the radius, the sides 6. Obviously, whenever you're doing a hexagon, it's always going to be 6 sides. But let's say I want to change it to a pentagon or something else, then I can easily increase the size of the visuals instead of having to like rework everything. We've got the colors, the frame color, and then the core color. And then we've got our layers, just like the power up visuals where I have the layers as well in terms of the alphas and the thickness. So on ready, we're making sure we set the blend mode to add, just as before. So a lot of the code between these are very similar. So after a while, I'm sure what I'll do is try to abstract it so that it's a little bit more efficient rather than having code that's practically the same that I could like abstract basically. So we got ready, we've got draw, and essentially what we're doing for the progress visuals is we're drawing each point and we're calling this method called build polygon points. And essentially it's here, we're adding the points, set a new vector array with sides +1 to close the loop, and then we're doing a for loop. Now I got this from like online and from Claude as well, so I'm not 100% sure how the maths works, but I know what this is doing is essentially creating each point for the hexagon based on how many sides there are. Again, I'm not going to pretend to know that I know exactly what this. I mean, that's a crazy formula right there, which is beyond my understanding of maths, to be fair. But anyways, I know now that it gives back an array of Godot vector 2 points for each point of the hexagon for the visuals. So what we're doing is for layer 1, draw polyline. So this method draws connected straight segments through the points list. So we're giving it the points list here. Draw polyline, we give it the array of points, and then we set the color and anti-aliasing. So frame color with layer 1 alpha, layer 1 width. Then for layer 2, doing the same thing with layer 2 alpha and layer 2 width. And then layer 3 is core color with layer 3 width. And then what we're doing is draw placeholder icon. I'm just using the same icon that I did for the power up visuals as well. For hazard visuals, again, a lot of it very similar. And I'm happy to leave it as it is now, but I'm probably going to substantially change it in a bit, and you'll see why. Essentially how it works is the same thing we've got going on. So we've got a circle collision shape, and then essentially what we have is spikes going from here, if that makes sense. So the inside, if the ball ever hits, goes through the spikes and hits here, that's only when it counts as a hit. Obviously the visuals have to sync up, so we have like a point here. And by the way, all the spikes are the same height as well. So essentially what I'm doing, outer radius, so the spike tips, we're saying the outer radius, that's this point here. And just pretend that each of these spikes are the same radius. So that's this radius here. So we got that. And then we've got the inner radius, which is the actual collider shape radius, which is here. 25, so it should match that. We've got 25 here, and the number of spikes. So I can set it to be really spiky or really like just simple, like only have like 4 spikes or whatever. So color section, same thing as the previous two. We're setting it to we're setting the frame color to red, and then obviously a near white core, and then the glow layer is exactly the same as before as well. On ready, setting blend mode to add, and then here for draw points, build star points. So it's different. So it's like a similar method as before what I was doing for building the polygon points, but here I'm building the star points. And again, I'm not 100% sure of the maths because this maths is like far beyond me, and I don't think I'd ever understand it. But in layman's terms, so we're taking the points count and we got to double the points. I'm not sure why we have to double the points. I think it was because of these here. If I'm not mistaken, we have to double the points because it's essentially checking this point and then checking this point. So that's one spike. So the next spike is this point and let's say this point, right? So that'll be 2 spikes, 3, 4. So it'd have to do 2 for each 2 points for that for the valley and for the peak as well. And then points, vector points count +1 to close the loop, and then doing this for loop and starting the point up. And yeah, like I said, I'm not sure what this maths is doing. I really tried to understand it, but I really don't, to be honest. But the point is, no pun intended, just trying to get this thing working. So in draw, we're getting the points of the star. And then what we're doing, so we got that vector2 array of all the points to make this star. And we're doing the same thing as before. Layer 1, draw polyline, give it the points, and giving it layer 1 values. For layer 2, same thing, layer 2 values, and for layer 3, same thing. Then we do draw placeholder icon. That's something that I might be able to abstract into its own method. That's for later on, because I'm realizing how similar it is. And inside here, instead of adding a plus symbol, we're just adding drawing a exclamation mark vector, basically. So again, I'm not sure how this works. I got this from Claude. And essentially what this is able to do is create the exclamation mark. So let's see what the game looks like. And to be honest, I like it quite a lot. But there are some issues which I'll speak about later. So let's look at this game. Let me move myself up so you can see Actually, let me stay here so that you can see the playfield. But just remember, I still have the HUD work going on down here. Alright, So let's play the game. I'm not gonna move about too much. That's the hazard. Another hazard. That's the progress visuals. All right, there we go. So I got it working. So we've got the. Let's see if I can. So we've got the progress visuals here. So that's the progress hittable with the visuals. We've got the plus icon, which is near white. Same thing as the power up, where it's got a core of white. It's hexagon, and it's got this little bit of blooming going on, and it's amber color to distinguish it the from the power up, and it's a hexagon as well. Then we also got this. That's my hazard hittable right there, and I'll go move on to the one of the problems later on. It's got an exclamation mark, and it's got the same principle except it's red, and you can see that it's doing this little star shape, with spikes to sort of indicate you don't really want to touch this. In terms of like hitting them, so we know about the power up. In terms of its collisions, you see there, like let's say let's try to hit him, bloody hell. There we go. So that's alright for the spike. I'm not too much of a fan. We saw a little bit of that. Anyway, I don't want to play too long because it's going to be hard to like demonstrate. So there are a few issues. So here's what I wrote down. We've got, this is for long-term tuning, for like it more than the first pass. Once I get past the first pass and start going into detail with like trying to add much more depth into each aspect of my game, that's when I do something like this. So need weighted probabilities for the hittables because currently it's purely random, and I don't think purely random actually works. You'd want progress hittables to show up at certain times. You want a certain amount of power up hittables and hazard hittables, and you want to kind of mix them, weight the probabilities rather than have it purely random. Because right now you could have like just 5 straight power ups, really. That's for later down the line, but I realize that that's an issue that I need to keep in the back of my head. I've got another issue with the progress, where we've got the collision shape, which is a circle, and then we got the hexagon going on, right? So right now it's like that. So I don't like how it is in terms of the way the ball bounces off of it doesn't feel right. I thought if the hexagon is small enough, then having a collision shape that's a circle would be the easiest way, since you wouldn't really notice like a difference. But honestly, in my opinion, like whilst I was playing, I felt the difference of it does feel like a circle. It doesn't feel natural the way the ball bounces off, because obviously internally it's bouncing off, thinking it's a circle, whereas it's not. What the player is being shown is that it's a hexagon, so it feels a bit wonky. So I do want to play around with the aspect of, instead of having a collision shape that's a circle, set the collision shape as a hexagon so that the visuals and the internal matches up quite quite perfectly, basically, so that it would make sense in my head. That's one thing that I have to do. The other thing about the hazard hittables is, firstly, actually I don't like the shape of it. I think it's a bit too big, a bit too like that, too much. And another thing about it is it actually overlaps with the borders. And this is an issue with every hittable. Is, let's say we've got our borders here, and obviously internally it's spawning the, let's say, the hazard over here, and it's making sure that it doesn't overlap with anything, which is good. And let's say it spawns another hazard here. Well, this hazard, its visuals overlap, and then this hazard, its visuals overlap as well. And this can happen for all types of hittables. although since it's closely aligned with the other, since the visuals are closely aligned with the other visuals, collision shape, it's less likely to happen. But more likely for the hazards is internally it's doing the right thing where it knows it's not overlapping the internal collision shapes, but the visuals are overlapping with the borders and other things within its vicinity, and it looks kind of janky. So I do want to fix that. But the thing is, I don't want to fix that and then decide to change the hazard hittables shape, because I'm not convinced about this shape. It's a bit too big. I like the I like the color and the aspect that it's spiky, but I don't know, it doesn't look right to me. It looks a bit too big. That it doesn't feel as connected to the collision shape as it should. So I'm not sure what to do. Yeah, so in terms of next steps, this is gonna be the end of the devlog. In terms of next steps, I think I'm gonna rework this hazard hittable and try to figure out a different shape to make it rather than this generic spiky shape. Because as a first pass, I'm not happy with it, to be honest. And then later on, after that, I'm not sure what to do because that will be the first pass of the hittables done. Yeah, so the plan for the future would be probably do another retake of the hazard hittable and try to figure out a different design. And then after that, I'm not sure what I'd do. I'll probably figure it out because, like I said, I think after that, I would have done the first pass of the hittables. I'm not sure what the next step is to take on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this. I'm also gonna do, since it's 30 devlogs, I'm going to try, because I've had this idea for a while to have all the development time lapse edited into one video so that I can see sort of the development process over 30 devlogs, and you can slowly see my game being built. So I'm going to try to do that as well, and then see what we do next. So yeah, take care. See you later.